Welcome, everyone. It's another episode of the Elevator Show here at NotInHallOfFame.com. And I'm Kirk Buchner along with Chris Mouradian. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good tonight, Kirk. How you been?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Apparently, if you hear it in the background, it's the dogs. They're super happy. Uh, yeah, well, what are they going to do?
You want to be part of the show?
They're always part of the show, so you can check them out at Instagram, Jasper underscore the friendly corgi. Might as well sort of like promote that. But before we sort of like do that, I've got a joke for you here.
Okay.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
The Basketball Hall of Fame.
The Basketball Hall of Fame. Who?
They suck
Okay. Okay.
because that's going to be a big part of what I want to like dump on here
Sure.
before I sort of like do that. The Basketball Hall of Fame. This is the third time in the last 10 years, maybe 7 years actually, where they've altered the rules. So about 7 years ago, I might be wrong on this, and if I'm wrong, my bad. Where they change it from 6 years to 5 years, and then they change it from 5 years to 3 years of eligibility.
That was just a couple years ago. They did that.
Okay, and now they've done it from 3 to 2. Long story short, and I'm a big conspiracy theorist to a point. Here we are, where they've now decided that they've gone from 3 to 2, and I kind of thought this might happen only because there was no big name who was eligible. And by changing it from 3 to 2, we now have a few big names who are eligible: Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Amari Stoudemire. Well, Amari Stoudemire is a little bit more interesting, only because we still don't completely know how they decide when somebody retires outside of the United States. Nevertheless, if you are this messed up, you're probably broke. And
Yeah.
go ahead.
While you were leading in here, I did pull what I could for the history. It went from 5 years to 4 years of having been retired in 2015, and then from 4 years to 3 years in 2017.
Mhm.
And so now, 7 years later, we're down to from 3 years to 2 years. So they've been aggressively lowering the wait period here.
Right. And I think a big part of it is sort of in Springfield, Massachusetts, where they're based. Uh, they're not doing particularly well, bluntly. They don't have the same attendance. Uh, Apologies for the dogs in the background. They don't have the same numbers that most people do. I could be mistaken here, and I'm not. I'm going to be doing this later tonight with Evan Nolan. I don't know Massachusetts very well, so like I would imagine that if you're someone like you and I, who are big Hall of Fame enthusiasts, are we going to Boston? Don't we have better things to do than go to Springfield?
Yeah, I'm in addition to
Yeah,
Hall of Fame, I'm big on history. So if I was going out to the East Coast like that, I'd
yeah.
want to be seeing a lot of the United States historical sites out there as
Mhm.
first and foremost, as opposed to a trip to the to Springfield for the Basketball Hall of Fame. Not that I wouldn't try to get there, it just would be a little bit lower on the list of
Right, but
sites to see.
you're a sports guy from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I'm a sports guy now in Seattle, but originally from Toronto. What's our sort of like main sort of thing? If you're in Boston, you want to go to a Red Sox or you want to go to a Celtics,
Bruins.
Bruins. It's not that high up on my whole list, right? It's not on mine. It's not on yours. It's not
Yeah.
on most people. And when I did sort of like a bit of research, they're under 200,000 in terms of people coming going there. They also sort of like did a big renovation. They're in trouble. They're in massive trouble. The Hockey Hall of Fame has not changed their eligibility. Baseball has not. Football has not. Rock and roll has not. Country music has not. Why have they done this three times in the last decade?
Yeah, the only thing that seems to make sense is to try to build a class that maybe wasn't there to begin with. And I think that's kind of where you're going with this year, because leading into um, the change this year, there was, as you mentioned, there was no kind of marquee name that would draw people to a Hall of Fame ceremony,
Hmm.
induction ceremony, or anything like that. So now they have made, as you mentioned, two or three players that would have had to wait till next year eligible this year, trying to generate the attendance, the media attention, something for this upcoming class that probably wouldn't have been there otherwise.
The biggest one being Carmelo Anthony.
Mhm.
And I like Carmelo. I'm a big fan of Carmelo Anthony. Uh, he's going to now be eligible for the first time this year. Obviously, when I talk about like elevators, because this is what this is, uh, the elevator up is for anybody who's relatively decent in basketball. Uh, Dwight Howard is now here. Amari Stoudemire is now here. On the women's side, Sue Bird, who would have been next year, is now eligible. And
Yeah.
Sue Bird is a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Probably yours, probably, I think, in everyone who follows basketball.
Yeah, I think she was the
Mhm.
first kind of big name on the ladies' side that most people kind of, I don't want to say grew up with, but kind of recognized.
Right. So here we are with a whole whack of people who are like where do we go from here? If you're going from three to two, at some point, are you going to go from two to one? Are you going to go from two to zero? You're
Well,
in trouble.
everybody that got moved up to being eligible this year. Now, what does that do for next year's class? I mean, they're just continuing to chase classes here.
I don't know. I mean, like, and thank you to Jack Silverstein in our show that we did just yesterday. He gave me some props for doing a visitor project on the Pro Football Hall of Fame, where we looked at it when it started from 1946 as opposed to 1963. Do I do the same thing with basketball, but like the opposite way? Because the Basketball Hall of Fame started in the 50s. And as we're going year by year by year, they're in trouble. They are in trouble, not necessarily because they had a lack of names, just because they had a lack of money. It was only a few years ago with the Hockey Hall of Fame, for example. Haley Wickenheiser was the name. I like Haley Wickenheiser. Is she somebody who's going to like sell all tickets? And the answer is no. And the reality is they didn't need her. They just went by what was more necessary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. Um, in location, you're talking about the location of the Basketball Hall of Fame being out there in Springfield, Massachusetts, which is, you know, far side of the country here. The Hockey Hall of Fame, by contrast, is in Toronto, which is, I believe, the largest city in Canada. Plus,
It
it's,
is, yeah.
it is very convenient to a lot of the United States, a lot of the population centers of the United States. So you're gonna have the ability to be able to draw people from shorter distance, and the fact that you know hockey is the national sport of Canada. They take it far more seriously than any other sport. They're gonna support it, and they're gonna be behind it, and they're gonna go see the history and want to go see the history and make that trip because you're gonna go to Toronto. That's gonna be one of the places you're gonna want to see. In
And,
addition to a Leafs game or a Blue Jays game, things like that too.
and it's a great thing. I've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame a few times. I've not been to the Basketball Hall of Fame. I'm looking forward to eventually doing that, but I do know from what my research that Hockey Hall of Fame is done better than the Basketball Hall of Fame, which should not be the case. Maybe the Basketball Hall of Fame should look at moving. Don't know. Maybe Indiana, maybe somewhere else. I mean, like you and I, we met at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, which is not a draw unless you're going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. They've done, from what I've read, about 70,000 more people every year.
Well,
So don't know. All I know is the Basketball Hall of Fame's in big trouble. And pretty much my elevator up right now, boom. If you're a big name and you're eligible, even if you're a mediocre name and you're eligible, literally they want you in because they's got to sell tickets.
yeah. Yeah. Looking at some of the carryover names like Buck Williams, Sean Marion, Kevin Johnson,
Mhm.
Marcus Johnson. Yeah, maybe this is their year. They can
Well, it would have been their year.
well, even with still Carmelo Anthony and a Dwight Howard, there's still the potential for some quote unquote cleanup here on some of these guys that have been out there for a little while. But it would have been a lot easier had they left the eligibility the way it was.
Right. So that's my opening. I'm gonna like take it to you to we've been from here
Um,
after my
well,
bad
let's
knock knock joke.
okay. Let's uh let's step back from basketball for a little while and let's look at football.
Okay.
So I got a few names here I want to throw out for football. Earlier today, the Pro Bowl teams were announced, and there were three rookies that made the Pro Bowl team this year:
Okay.
Brock Bowers, Jared Verse, and Jaden Daniels.
Hmm.
And while the Pro Bowl doesn't quite carry the same cachet as an All Pro and the season All Pro,
Yep.
these players getting their names on that Pro Bowl roster in their rookie season is only going to help their name recognition going forward here, whether it's
Absolutely.
repeat Pro Bowl selections, things like that. And, you know, just, you know, for what guys like Brock Bowers did out there with the Las Vegas Raiders on a team that was not very good this year to
Hmm. Hmm.
to be the Pro Bowl starter in his rookie year over Travis Kelce in the West there or the AFC. Um, Says a lot about where he is on a lot of these uh, you know charts, maps, whatever you want to call it. So I think just getting the early recognition early in their careers, it's only going to help them in the long run. You got to get on that elevator at some point. So why not with an All-Star game Pro Bowl appearance in your rookie season?
No, I love it. That's a great segue to an elevator up that I have. Uh, Kali Jusic also got nominated for, well,
Mhm.
he's going to be a Pro Bowler. This is his eighth, and I find it fascinating because you and I, we were just in a group yesterday, and we're in a a Twitter group where we talk about Hall of Famers and whatnot based on after their career and current career. I don't think we've ever talked about Kyle, have we?
No, his name has not come up.
Yeah, I don't think so. So he's now an 8-time Pro Bowler on a position that it's kind of tricky because who's the best fullback? Well, what's a fullback?
Mhm.
When we sort of like talk about that. But now here he is. He's just added another accolade to a phenomenal career where he's a niche of his own. If that
Yep,
makes any sense. Uh,
it does. The fullback position, from what you and I probably grew up with, being kind of like the lead blocker kind of guy, the undersized offensive lineman that was dropped in the backfield there. For me, I picture a guy like William Henderson from the Packers back in the 90s.
yeah.
Um, nice little release valve over there on a pass play, whatever. Now the fullbacks, it's most teams don't even roster a fullback anymore, and so it is kind of a position that's fallen out of some teams' rotation. So they don't even, they said they don't even roster them. It's nice that the Pro Bowl still recognizes the position and throws the accolades out to a player like Kyle Juszczyk there.
Yeah, so that's my biggest pro football in terms of like football up.
Hmm.
Uh, do you have anyone football related down or up? Because I got a couple in terms of,
That's all I had for
I got one
football.
big up.
Yeah, it's all I had for football this week or this month.
Mhm.
So you go ahead and jump on with yours.
Okay. Uh, I don't know who's going to win the MVP this year. Now, when you look at the MVP in terms of the Pro Football Hall for the NFL, you're looking at either who is the best or who is, from depending on your point of view, who is the one who elevated their team the most. I think Lamar Jackson is the best player this year, but in terms of what the MVP might mean to some people, it's Josh Allen. Uh, Josh Allen is an absolute beast. He's done everything you need him to do. He might be the MVP this year in terms of, might be my MVP for whatever that means. But how awesome would a Buffalo Detroit series be for the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
not for you, but your team's going to go in the playoffs. Mine's not. But
No, I mean, yeah, Buffalo, Detroit, we just had them, was it 2 weeks ago? And they
yeah,
put on quite the show there. Uh, yeah, Josh Allen has been pretty phenomenal all season long for Buffalo and really has elevated their team uh, to
I
to
look at
ho
it this way, right? Because I mean, like Lamar Jackson, as great as he's been, he also has Derrick Henry. Who the hell does Josh Allen have?
yeah, name a wide receiver on Buffalo.
Yeah. Well, I can name a few, but nobody who's going to be somebody that we're going to be talking about in our Hall of Fame series, right? So
Correct.
Josh Allen's been he's been a massive superstar. If Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills win the whole thing this year, and they could, how is he not a Pro Football Hall of Famer?
Well, I mean, he would only have, potential if he'd have to win the Super Bowl MVP and then win it again another time, and then maybe he could be a first ballot guy,
Mm.
or he just continue on with his dominant career in the regular season as well as in the playoffs there.
Sounds a little bitter, but that's okay.
No, it's just
Is
it is what it is. So they'll make their decisions, and
what it is. Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, like,
but no, you're
it's weird to say, like, when I look at Lamar Jackson, who is stat wise is better than what he was in his MVP years. I love Lamar. I love that guy. But Josh Allen, you take him out of Buffalo. What are they, 8-7? Or not 8-7, 8-9?
yeah, definitely. They're not a playoff team for sure.
Yeah. No, I think this could be a very special year for him. Like my dream thing, because like I'm a Saints guy, my team's out. So a Bills Lions thing, like, oh my God, that'd be great for me. Not for you.
Not for me.
No, not for you. I know, but
But no, I get the sentiment there, and
no.
I can understand it, and it would as a uh, marketing and visual for the
I'm
public as
not
a
thinking
whole
of
would
marketing,
be fun.
but yes, yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Josh
yeah.
Allen has definitely elevated himself this season and his team.
Mhm. All right, I will give it to you. Who do you got?
All right, let's play a little hockey here.
Hockey.
So, Rod Brindamore just cannot seem to get through as a into the Hall of Fame as a player, even though his resume really does not have a hole in it, from what
It's
I
a
could
good.
find.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So, we've talked about him previously as far as somebody we both I think agree should probably be a Hall of Famer based on his playing career.
Hmm.
But uh, but now he's the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, and he was also now the fastest head coach to 300 wins. So maybe if he can't make it as a player, maybe he can make it as a coach.
Okay.
Um, Now, granted, now there are the changes from the past with no more ties and the 3-on-3 overtime, and then the skills competition in order to determine a winner. But you play the game that's by the rules that are being played now, and in doing so, he's become the fastest to 300 wins. So it was a accomplishment I noticed, and something that again, you start to look at now his entire career as a coach, as a player. What more does this guy have to do to get in the Hall of Fame here? But this year, the first ballot guys for the Pro Hockey Hall of Fame are pretty solid. That a carryover guy like Brendan Moore or even McGillney are not going to be able to really break through there. So continue to build that coaching career resume, and like I said, if you can't get the recognition as for the player he was, hopefully you can get it as for the coach he is.
No, I like that. I see where you're going with that. Uh, Brindamore had an overall had continues to have an overall great career. Yeah, no, I think that's a good one. Uh, all right. Who do I have here next? Terms. I don't have anyone in hockey. So like everything that I've got sort of like moving forward is all basketball, which is kind of weird because when I just sort of like did that whole opening, it's like, okay, you're everyone. If you're a basketball player, elevate her up. I'm not even saying that's wrong, but saying that we have a few players who might have to wait. And the first person I'm going to go with is Paul George. I know I talked about him last month, but the Sixers are bad, 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 bad. They're a bad team, and he's one of the alphas there. His stats are now 7 points lower than they were before.
Hmm.
And I'll bring this up here because I'm a big thing on narratives. One of the people that he got traded for was Shea, SGA. He got traded for a player who wound up being better than him, a few picks. Where are we here with Paul George? Paul George, who I love his podcast, but a lot of people are thinking that he's more interested in his podcast than being a basketball player, than being a superstar. And Paul George is phenomenal overall. Paul George should be in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Paul George will now have to maybe wait a year, maybe two, or maybe not, based on how I opened this show.
Yeah, the Sixers right now are quite the mess. I know the it's going to be tough when you have your all-world player in Joel Embiid missing as much time as he's missed all season, but you need the other players around him to elevate their game, and they haven't done that. And because of that, they're suffering in the standings right now. And George
Yeah.
is supposed to be one of those players that he's supposed to be one of the big players that is expected to carry a team on a night when Embiid's not there, and he's not.
And he hasn't.
No,
He hasn't, and there's no reason at 35 to think that he will.
no, you're right there. He's
Yeah.
long
Which,
in the tooth there.
in terms of narrative, might hurt him and might make him wait a year, maybe two, maybe three. I don't know. Uh, I feel bad because I like Paul George a lot, but I don't think I'm wrong here.
No, it's seems to be playing out that way, and time will tell as far as when he does finally retire, and who else retires right there with him.
Mm-hmm. All right, who you got next?
Well, I'll stick with basketball, and one of the guys I had was SGA, Shadios.
Oh,
Um,
up or down? I hope up. No.
Up, absolutely up.
Okay. Oh, Canada.
Yeah.
Love
Um,
it. Love him.
just what's really like what's going on with Oklahoma City. What he's doing there, the way he's um, elevated his game, elevated his profile. Um, just really appreciate what he's been able to do with his career so far. Be another All Star this year, another All NBA selection this year. Right now, he's kind of projecting in the top two or three for MVP votes. So his star is clearly on the rise, and probably the one of the few players that really is maybe just on the outside right now of having a Hall of Fame career, but is very close to I think kind of stamping that accolade onto his resume there.
Yeah, pretty close. So if I stay with basketball, I'm gonna go elevator down in a weird way because again, I think they're going to like push people through. Basketball, as much as I love it, is in trouble. The ratings are down. Uh, Depending on what article I read, it's either 20% down or 50% down. Don't know. Uh, Saying that, who's the Hefe? It's Adam Silver. There's a lot that he's got to sort of like do. And all right, so Chris, you're a bigger hockey guy at this
Mhm.
point. So am I. when January, February, March, whatever it is, what's more entertaining, hockey or basketball to you?
Oh, easily hockey.
Okay. Same for me, not because I'm Canadian, just because it just is.
Sports more exciting right now.
Yeah. And I loved, I said this in past tense. Steph Curry and the way he plays is incredible. But now I've got 1,000 Steph Currys. And the Raptors, about a week ago, they scored, I might have this wrong bit by a bit, but I think they scored like 127 points, lost by 20. That's not fun to watch. That's NBA All Star. That sucks. And Adam Silver, who is getting a lot of hatred to a certain point. I think Adam Silver's first year was incredible, as especially when there was the issue with I'm sorry, who's the Clippers owner? I'm
Oh,
blank.
is that Donald Sterling?
Thank you. Yeah, he handled that perfectly. Perfect. Like okay, because you're racist, you suck, you're gone. Since that time, basketball, the NBA's got to do something to get more people interested. Uh, they're having trouble. They're having a lot of trouble. LeBron and Zion are the two big issues that I'm looking at. I like LeBron. I think he's a great guy in terms of the fact that his crew has stayed his crew. Saying that he's a flopper. I don't want to watch floppers. I don't want to watch people who are not that necessarily into everything that they're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it
Yeah.
you know, I've been catching up on some old Netflix shows, and I started watching the Lakers Clippers. I think it was originally a 30 for 30 on ESPN
Mm-hmm.
about their rivalry going back into the 60s with Russell and West and into the 80s with Showtime Lakers and the Bird uh, Celtics, and just watching the clips from those games uh, and comparing it to what you're watching today. And it's not to say that today's players are not immensely talented, can do things that the players from before just weren't doing. Um, it just it was more of a team game back then. You had the inside outside, the triangle offense. Um, Lakers obviously with their fast break offense. You still had the shooter, Larry Bird could drain a shot from pretty much anywhere. Um, but it just seemed like the shots were designed open as opposed to just, the guys slowly bring the ball up court, gets, 3 feet inside the half court and just chucks it. And, it just, I don't know, it just, maybe it's because I romanticize with what I grew up with the players I grew up with, but the game today, there's more scoring, but it's more boring.
Right, and that's exactly sort of like what I'm looking at here, where I worry about sort of like the NBA right now at this point, and it's not as interesting. It's not
Mhm.
as much fun, and he's the man who oversees all of this. I think it can change. I hope it does. Hope maybe they'll sort of like go against the hand check because there's no defense right
No,
now. We're
no,
watching
there isn't.
no, and hopefully that's going to change. And but right now, if I'm running the Basketball Hall of Fame, which we don't know who is, um, Adam Silver has gotten elevator down.
Yeah,
It's amazing jump up, but yeah,
I can't disagree with you there. He's the one in charge, and they, the numbers are down, the TV numbers are down, the enthusiasm seems to be down. You got to look at the guy in charge there.
yeah. All right. What do you got?
Let's go back to hockey again. So, there is no All-Star game this year. There is instead a um, Four Nations tournament, which personally I'm not a fan of. I these players are being taken out of their element for a couple weeks to play games that are going to be played at a high level with intensity and not playing for their teams. So you have players playing against each other because you have United States against Sweden, Canada against Finland. Um, that being said, being selected to those teams is still a big deal. And so since there is no All-Star game, kind of looking at the players that are being, selected for these teams, I decided I'm going to go with Cole McCarr as an elevator up this month. Right now, I think he's the best defenseman in the NHL, and I'm a Canucks guy, so I got Quinn Hughes out there to cheer for.
Yep.
But McCarr is just a better all-around player right now at this point. I think he's the easy choice right now for Norris Trophy winner again. He leads all defensemen in goals, assists, points, and like I said, all around. He's also playing on both penalty kill and power plays. So Quinn Hughes doesn't play the penalty kill, and that's why I think that McCarr is the better player right now between the two. I think they're both very, very talented. They're both going to be representing their countries in this upcoming tournament. But if I'm looking at which player of those two is going to take home the hardware at the end of the year, and right now I see it as being McCarr, and I think that would give him at least two. I think two Norris trophies. Whatever happens with this tournament, as far as whatever kind of recognition they get out of that, just another year, another brick into his or another notch on his resume to Toronto there.
Uh, for the record, because I think this is sort of like where I'm going to like clear off here. I hate this tournament. I fucking hate it. uh, it's not because of who's in it. It's because of who's not in it. Right.
And who's not in it? Who's missing?
Uh, right. Okay, I'm not talking about the World Juniors. I'm talking about like
No, we're talking about the Four Nations. Yep.
yeah, Russia and Czech Republic.
Yep.
If you're not in it, then okay, what did you win?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I despise that, and I hate being wrong here. But congratulations, USA! You beat us 4-1 in the World Juniors. Uh, Chris and I might be the only people who care about this sort of thing. But I did kind of call that the United States is like better than us now at this point, but c'est la vie, as my Quebec friends would say. But this tournament's garbage to me. Again, because of who's not in it. So, like, whoever wins it, yeah, you won against two other teams who weren't there.
Mhm.
I'll say that if you win, I'll say that if I win, I'll say that if the Finns win, I'll say that the Swedes win. Uh, this feels so political to me. Like, oh my God, we can't have the Russians here because of like, okay, what did the Czechs do? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and
You didn't
it's
win. You didn't win what means anything. Now, the worst thing for me though, Chris, I'll be watching
Mhm.
because I love this. International hockey is the best, but I'm not gonna sort of like if Canada wins the whole thing, I'm not gonna go to you and say ha 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 because I can't. And if you do that to me, I'll say like fuck off. But seriously, it's not the same. You know what? Am I wrong here?
No, you're not.
Yeah.
It's as you put it, it is extremely political. It seems like it was done. I don't know why the hell it was done, to be honest with you. I don't like it when they break for the Olympics and send the players over in the middle of the season to go to South Korea to play um, Olympic hockey, and then I it was great when it was the college kids from or the junior kids or whatever that were playing over there getting their attention.
Mhm.
Um, I just I don't like any of the international games. At least the All-Star game, it's played at a reasonable level without any real risk of injury. Whereas in a situation like this, where you have these players now playing for their country, and the games mean something, they're going to play them as they would any other game, and that's going to potentially risk what their team has built for all season if somebody were to get injured. If McCare, hopefully it doesn't happen. But what happens if he gets a lengthy injury, and that right now Colorado is a playoff team. What happens if they don't have him for 2 months
Well,
because of a meaningless tournament in the middle of February or January, whatever the hell they're playing it.
well, I think that's the point, right? I mean, like you just said, meaningless. It wouldn't have been meaningless if we actually had all the teams who could be there. Like
I still see it as being meaningless because it's
well, okay, okay,
so
okay.
it's not the Olympics. It's just a something in the middle of the season to try to create artificial excitement over something that has no impact on the season.
Well, and to your point, who's artificially excited? Is anyone excited right now? I'm not. Are you?
No, I'm more cautiously nervous about it. I just don't want anybody to get hurt. I want to see the teams at full strength when the real games matter when they come back.
Mm-hmm. Because like you as a Canucks guy, so
Hmm.
Pettersson is playing for Sweden.
Sweden, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Quinn Hughes and JT Miller are playing for Team USA. Kevin Lankinen is goaltender for Finland.
I know
If you, I don't know if you follow the
as a
supposedly
Jets
the
guy, I got Hellebuck for
you
USA.
got Hellebrook,
I
yeah.
want to cheer against Hellebuck as a Canadian. This sucks. But at the same time, does any of this, so somebody, let's say whoever wins, does that help their Hockey Hall of Fame case? Even their IIHF Hall of Fame case?
Yeah, I,
Like this may never happen again.
yeah. Well, that's as I say. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think you can look at it as being equivalent to the Olympics. Eh, sure, it's going to be something that's on their resume that they took first place in this tournament or whatever. But I don't think it's going to be anything that sways anybody. I think the overall
Mhm.
career, they're going to be looking at what they did for in the NHL as
Yeah.
opposed to. this one-off tournament or two-off tournament, whatever.
The biggest tournament that I'm going to watch that I won't give a shit about when it comes right down to it. Yeah. Okay. Who we got here left? Do you have any elevator ups, elevator downs that we haven't discussed already?
I got one more basketball player that I think is elevator up
Okay.
that I could throw out there. Um, that'd be Donovan Mitchell from the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, I love them.
And
Okay.
again, much like SGA, Donovan Mitchell, with what Cleveland is doing this year, they're I don't want to say running away with it, but they're top in the East there. They got Boston to compete with eventually, but that team in Cleveland is looking dangerous. And Donovan Mitchell again, another All-Star season this year for him. Uh, Probably an All NBA selection at some point come end of the season, and if they can continue this run that they're on, um, and be able to take home a championship on top of it, it's just another feather in his cap. So I think it'd be like 6 or 7 consecutive All-Star selections here for Mitchell. He was all rookie back then. He's all NBA 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Probably, like I said, kind of trending towards being all NBA again this year. Um, Younger guy still, just 28 years old, so he's still got a lot of career ahead of him. But having a season like that, like this year, now with the success of the team going along with it, I think is really going to help his chances out going forward, and really maybe get him on that doorstep of being a Hall of Fame career.
No, it makes sense. I'm a big fan of his. I guess I'll close off here with my last elevator up. We talked about this last night. Someone who I'm not necessarily wanting to be an elevator up, but being realistic. Last night, we were part of a group who were, it's our mock Hall of Fame in terms of pro football. Eli Manning is a first ballot Hall of Famer, or a first ballot Hall finalist, rather. Should he be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Don't know. But he's now a first ballot in the finalist. That's about as big a Hall of Fame up as I can think.
Yeah, very, very spirited discussion last night regarding his candidacy. I am kind of in the camp of I think it was Clark Judge that kind of coined this when we talked to him. He had Hall of Fame moments, but not necessarily a Hall of Fame career.
Mhm.
And I just don't think that personally, I don't think he did enough to warrant being in the Hall of Fame. But clearly, the selectors right now feel like he needs to be discussed
Right.
as a potential first ballot guy. So he is where he is, and we shall see where that turns out.
Yeah, and once you sort of like reach that point, it's hard to say that you're not going to get in eventually. I don't want to have this discussion at this point whether he should go further or not, but here he is. And since he is here, that's a giant elevator up.
No, it is. I mean, because he very easily could have been left off the finalist group there.
Oh, absolutely. So I guess that's where I'm ending it here. Uh, wherever you are, wherever you may be, make this day count because it never comes again.
Good night.
All right. Take care.